Mary remained a virgin, and I'm going to prove it to you. Part 2. For some reason, people think that Mary remaining a virgin was impossible. Why? I have no idea. Being a virgin back then was actually pretty common. In fact, Numbers 30 talks about laws of abstinence for married women, and how women who took virginity vows can remain virgins while still being married. Numbers chapter 30 verses 7 and 8 read, "If she marries while under a vow or under a rash pledge to which she bound herself, and her husband learns of it, yet says nothing to her on the day he learns it, then the vows or the pledges to which she bound herself remain valid." Now, I firmly believe Mary took a vow of virginity prior to meeting Saint Joseph, and I'm going to explain that here in a minute. But for now, just humor me. Let's act like she did take a vow. Now, as I said in the first video, Saint Joseph was a righteous man, as Matthew tells us. Do you think a woman who took a vow of virginity to God would be forced by a righteous man to break that vow of virginity? No, because then he wouldn't be a righteous man. A righteous man does the will of God no matter what. Now, my reason for thinking she took a vow of virginity goes like this. In some writings from the early church fathers, they talk about how Saint Anne, Mary's mother, devoted her to the service of the temple at a young age. The same way that the prophet Samuel's mother had devoted him to the temple at a young age. Now, Mary would have served and been educated at the temple until she hit puberty and started menstruating. This would have made her ceremoniously unclean. At this point, she couldn't have been a young woman on her own, at least not in ancient Israel. She needed a man to provide for her and protect her. It's possible he even had taken a vow of virginity. What better way to retain that vow of virginity and serve the Lord than by taking a wife who is also consecrated to the Lord? This way they could support each other serving the Lord while remaining consecrated virgins. Me don't know. Me just make educated guess. Now, another big point. When the angel Gabriel appeared to Mary and told her she would have a son, Mary was pretty surprised. She said, "How? For I do not know man." If you're engaged to be married and somebody comes up and tells you, "Hey, you're going to give birth," you wouldn't be surprised. The reason Mary was surprised was because she took a vow of virginity. She had no intentions of ever having a kid. Additionally, she says, "How can this be, since I do not know man?" The word "know" is used in various ways in the Bible. One way it's used is as a euphemism for sex and intercourse. It's kind of like we don't say those two people are having sex. We say those two people are sleeping together. Different times, different lingo. For example, Genesis 4:1. "And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain." How about Genesis 24:16? "An exceeding comely maid and a most beautiful virgin, and not known to man." How about Numbers 31:35? 32,000 persons of the female sex that had not known men. You might think, well, maybe she didn't know a man, but she was betrothed to Saint Joseph, so she did know a man. If you think you learned something, hit that subscribe button. Tune in for part 3.